2D Mystery welcomes you to a chilling journey deep into the English woods, where strange lights have torn the night and left traces that do not belong to Earth. The incident happened on a winter night in 1980, when many soldiers at the U.S. Air Base suddenly faced an unidentified flying object, UFO, emitting bright lights and inexplicable noises. Rendlesham Forest, since then, has become the center of one of the most terrifying mysteries of the century. Is it just a collective hallucination, or is it evidence of alien invasion? Join 2D Mystery to uncover the truth that has been hidden for over 40 years. Don't let the like button be lonely. Don't let the share button wither, and don't let the subscribe button wait for you forever. The strange Christmas Eve, the incident begins. That quiet night, in the darkness of the cold forest, opened a door to something no one had ever thought possible. The setting of Rendlesham Forest, where reality is distorted. Rendlesham Forest, located in Suffolk, England, is just a few miles from the East Coast. This place is famous for its wild, ancient beauty, and especially eerily quiet at night. The rows of tall pine trees, damp trails, and moss covering the tree roots create a scene that seems to come from a fairy tale or a nightmare. Adjacent to the forest are two military bases, RAF Bentwaters and RAF Woodbridge, which were used by the United States during the Cold War. The bases were heavily guarded, with military activity and air surveillance running 24 hours a day. But on the night of December 26, 1980, just after Christmas, that peace was shattered. Strange lights in the dark. At around 3 a.m., a series of unusual lights appeared in the night sky. Not fireworks, not planes, not any previously seen beacons. They were streaks of white and red light moving at strange speeds, sometimes zooming away, sometimes stopping suddenly in midair. Sergeant Jim Peniston, along with Corporals John Burroughs and Edward Cabansag, were sent to investigate after the command post received a report from the sentry of an object falling into the forest. At this point, the officers all thought there had been an accident, perhaps a small plane crash. But they had no idea that they were entering a zone where reality and the supernatural were about to collide. Entering the forest, feeling watched, the three men, armed with flashlights, pistols, and communications equipment, advanced into Rendlesham Forest. The biting cold, the crunch of dry leaves underfoot, and the black shadows of the trees amplified every sense. There was no sound except the wind, no trace of a person. But the light was there, flickering dim, moving as if with an intelligence of its own. Corporal Burroughs later said he felt like being watched from several directions at once, but unable to determine who or what was watching. Confronted by an alien object, unlike anything on Earth. Then they saw it. A metallic object, triangular or large wedge, about 6 feet tall, stood motionless in the middle of the clearing. The light around it was not electric. It was soft, dim, but bright like liquefied moonlight pouring down the wood of a tree. Peniston moved closer, even as every instinct in his body screamed at him to run. On the surface of the object, he saw strange symbols. Not Russian, not Greek, not military. They looked like ancient hieroglyphs mixed with machine language, like some kind of message from another civilization. He reached out and touched the object. It's warm and it vibrates. There are no screws, no gaps, no signs of mechanical engineering. The object disappears in the eerie silence. A few minutes later, the object suddenly emitted a powerful flash of light. No explosion or shockwave, but extremely bright, then shot up into the sky at a 45-degree angle and disappeared. No sound, no smoke, no trace of departure. The three stood frozen. They could not explain it. All they knew was they had seen something that did not belong to this world. Report and suspicious reticence. When they returned to base, they reported the whole incident. But strangely, instead of being urgently investigated, the incident was recorded in a superficial manner. There was no blockade, no official investigation by the military that night. Some documents suggest that, from the beginning, the incident was classified as sensitive information requiring control. However, The next morning, Penniston began to redraw the symbols he had seen on the object. And from that moment on, the incident turned from a strange phenomenon into a great mystery. The mystery begins. In the days that followed, even stranger things began to happen. More lights, more witnesses, and a series of recording devices, internal reports, and even binary code injected into the soldier's head, all of which will be analyzed in later chapters. But that Christmas Eve in 1980 is where it all began. A quiet night was shattered by something that no one could understand. A contact, a message, a warning. More than 40 years later, no one can say for sure what happened in that forest. But one thing remains. The darkness of Rendlesham Forest has never been quiet again. Symbols that are not of this world. When the eyes see the impossible and the hands touch the inexplicable, the human mind begins to slip beyond the boundaries of reality. Drawings from the subconscious, mysterious symbols. On the morning of December 27th, 1980, Sergeant Jim Penniston could not sleep. A strange feeling still lingered in him, as if a part of his memory had been downloaded but not yet decoded. He sat down at the table, picked up a pen, and began to draw. What appeared on the paper was not the scene from last night, but the strange series of symbols he had seen on the alien body. There were spirals, interlocking triangles, lines intersecting at symmetrical angles as if designed by a computer. These symbols did not follow any known language. Not Latin, not Greek, not Norse runes or Egyptian hieroglyphs. He did not try to remember. The images flowed from his subconscious, as if he were copying a message implanted into his brain. Dream communication, binary code, and a great mystery. That night, when Penniston finally fell asleep, he dreamed a series of numbers that kept appearing before his eyes. 0 and 1, 0 and 1, over and over again. He woke up in a cold sweat, his heart pounding. For days after that, every time he closed his eyes, the same codes appeared, as clearly as if someone was transmitting data to him. Eventually, he was forced to write down the entire binary code in his personal notebook. In total, he wrote down more than 16 pages of binary code, but at the time he did not understand what it was. It was not until nearly 30 years later, in 2010, that the sequence of numbers was deciphered by a group of experts. The result shocked the world. Exploration of humanity, 8,100. A message from the future? When converting binary code to ASCII, a clear message appeared. Exploration of humanity. Continuous for planetary advance. Eyes of your eyes. Origin year, 8100-inch. Translation. Exploration of humanity. Continuous for planetary evolution. Eyes of your eyes. Origin year, 8,100-inch. Year 8,100? Could this not be a message from extraterrestrials, but from the future of humanity? The theory began to take shape. Maybe the entity that Penniston had come into contact with was not from another planet, but from Earth itself, but from a time far in the future. An evolved human returned to observe his ancestors. That idea turned the whole Rendlesham case around, from an extraterrestrial visitation to a matter of time travel and cosmic evolution. Mysterious geographic coordinates, a journey across the planets. And that's not all. In the binary code, there were also 6 GPS coordinates, each leading to an ancient or sacred location associated with mysterious civilizations. Giza, Egypt, home to the Great Pyramid. Nazca, Peru, giant drawings clearly visible from the air. Sedona, Arizona, USA, a hot spot of energy and strange phenomena. High Brazil Island, a legendary island that no longer exists today. Thule Island, the land at the end of the world according to Norse legend. The mountain in China, an unknown location but believed to be a sacred forbidden area. Why did these locations appear in the message? Could this be an ancient energy grid or a cosmic communication map where higher entities make contact with humanity? British and American officials, unusual silence, and signs of censorship. When the story began to leak, the U.S. military stationed in the UK immediately denied the whole thing. Reports were redacted, recordings disappeared, and and the soldiers involved were apparently lightly supervised, not mentioned to the media. The British government also showed an unusual attitude. No investigation, no statement, no denial. For 30 years, the Rendlesham incident lived only in the stories and leaked documents. It was not until the 2010s that the veterans dared to speak the truth publicly. Penniston and the oath of silence, the burden of memory. Penniston did not dare to reveal the whole story of the binary code. He was afraid of being ridiculed, investigated, and even doubted himself at times. However, with the support of researchers, he decided to make public the notebook and the code, creating a wave of controversy in the ufology and mainstream science circles. Scientists believe that the code could be fake, but no one has proven it. On the contrary, security experts and computer engineers confirm. This code is very complex, could not have been written randomly, and the coordinates completely match real places. From the light to the message. Who sent it? The biggest question remains unanswered. Who or what sent the message? Why choose an ordinary soldier rather than someone with power? Was the goal to plant the seed of the message so that at some point in the future, humanity would understand? Are we being watched from afar? Or from our future? Rendlesham Forest remains silent, but the events of 1980 have left a question mark that has lingered for more than 40 years. Chapter end. If an object can come and go without leaving a physical trace, but can plant a message in the human mind that transcends time, then perhaps it is not just technology. It is a form of intelligence beyond the current human understanding. Diary from a commander, forgotten evidence. Some stories only become scary when they're confirmed by people in power. Charles Halt, the man who didn't want to believe in UFOs. The then deputy commander of Bentwaters, Lieutenant Colonel Charles I. Halt was not a man to be swayed by rumors or fantasies. He was the typical officer, practical, principled, and extremely cautious. At the time of the Rendlesham incident, Halt was considered the base commander's right-hand man, responsible for controlling emergency situations and internal communications. So when he personally led the investigation team on the third night of the incident, December 28, 1980, no one expected that he would become the biggest witness. The fateful patrol, the forest shakes in the dark. At 2 a.m., Lieutenant Colonel Halt and a group of security guards entered Rendlesham Forest with recording equipment, radiation meters, flashlights, and military cameras. As he walked, he recorded everything on a handheld tape recorder. The tape, which lasted over 18 minutes, would later become known as Halt tape, the tape that changed the entire UFO investigation in the UK. In it, Halt's voice is clearly heard. We're recording unusually high radiation levels around the trees. Almost 0.07 milliroentgens. This is not normal. And then, his voice became agitated. Look, there's an object hovering between the trees. It's glowing, flashing red and blue. It looks like it's watching us. It just shot a beam of light. A beam of light. Oh my God, it's coming straight at us. Splitting light, objects beyond understanding. The group witnessed a large light hovering above the treetops, emitting a blue light, then splitting into 3 smaller objects. They flew in a triangular formation, making no sound, then suddenly disappeared. A moment later, Halt himself pointed to the sky. There they are. There are 2 more objects south, west. They're rotating as if searching. No one in the group had ever seen anything like it. No plane could do that. No satellite could descend that low. No sound, just light and non-physical movement. Real recording, undeniable evidence. Unlike stories told from memory, Halt left behind a real recording. This audio tape was kept, but not released to the public for many years. It was only in the late 1980s that it was leaked and analyzed by experts. Every second of the tape confirmed it. A senior officer, not a rookie, not a civilian, was witnessing and commenting on an unexplainable phenomenon. This made the Rendlesham incident completely different from other UFO cases. After that night, heavy silence. The next morning, Lieutenant Colonel Halt sent an official report to the British Ministry of Defense titled Unexplained Lights. The The report detailed what he and his team had seen and confirmed that the measuring equipment had recorded unusually high radiation in the area where the phenomenon occurred. But strangely, the Ministry of Defense did not investigate, did not ask for further evidence, did not respond. Everything was buried in silence, revealed after decades. Nearly 30 years later, Lieutenant Col Halt, now retired, decided to speak out despite the risk to his reputation. At a major UFO conference in Washington, D.C. in 2010, he declared, "I know what I saw. I know what the equipment recorded. And I believe that the British government, along with the American government, deliberately concealed the truth about the Rendlesham incident." He also said that the radar at the base detected a UFO flying in the area at the time of the incident, but the data was confiscated and never reappeared. Other witnesses, a massive shared memory. Halt was not the only one on the investigation team that night. There were at least 4 or 5 security guards with him. Over the years, some of them have come forward with their accounts. They confirmed seeing lights hovering, changing shape and color. Some felt dizzy when near the object. Some even described the air vibrated as if an invisible engine was running. The consistency of the accounts led UFO researchers to believe that Rendlesham could not be a collective hallucination. The military explanation, a full-fledged denial. In an effort to quell public opinion, some military officials later gave the reason. It could have been a light from the nearby Orford Ness Lighthouse. However, the distance from the lighthouse to the scene was more than 8 kilometers. Lighthouse lights cannot fly, split, or shoot light. The recordings and notes confirm that the object moved, changed direction, and reacted to humans. Even Halt himself answered frankly, "I know what a lighthouse light looks like. This is not it." Time manipulation, the moments that do not exist. Time flows smoothly until it collides with something that is not of this world. The frozen moment, time warps in Rendlesham Forest. One of the most mysterious details that many people overlook is the fact that many witnesses reported time distortion when they entered the scene of the light. Corporal James Peniston, one of the 2 who directly approached the strange object on the first night, recounted, "All sounds seemed to disappear. No birds, no wind, nothing. The air stood still. It felt like time had stopped. Even Peniston and Burroughs' watches stopped for a few minutes, then started again automatically, with an error of up to 40 minutes compared to the actual time. No one has an explanation for this phenomenon. Cognitive paralysis. The mind fades in an invisible moment. After approaching the flying object, Peniston said his mind fell into a strange state. His train of thought was broken. The time in his memory fell apart like pieces of a puzzle that didn't fit. I remember reaching out to touch the surface, and then suddenly I was standing 3 meters away with a notebook open in my hand. I don't understand what happened during that time." Years later, while being treated for post-traumatic stress disorder, PTSD, Peniston gradually recovered the fragments of his memory. He revealed a shocking detail in the UFO research community. The moment he touched the object, a series of strange symbols appeared in his mind, like binary code. Encrypted message, binary system from the soldier's mind. Immediately after the event, Peniston wrote down 6 pages of binary code, only 0 and 1, in his personal diary. It was not until 2010 that he released these pages for analysis by researchers. The results stunned everyone. A team of independent decryption experts, including software engineer Nick Sisk, used an algorithm to convert binary to ASCII text and discovered. The hidden content inside was an encrypted message. It included the words, "Exploration of humanity continues for planetary advance. Origin, coordinates 52 degrees, 9 feet 42.532 inches in/13 degrees, 13 feet 12.69 inches W, along with many other coordinates leading to mysterious locations around the world. Coordinates that cannot be random. Here are the coordinates encoded in the message. Giza Pyramids, Egypt. Nazca Lines, Peru. Sedona Sanctuary, Arizona, USA. High Brazil Island, a legendary location off the coast of Ireland. Sun Temple, India. near Rendlesham Forest, UK. The strange thing, all of these locations are associated with ancient legends, energy intersections, ley lines, and unexplained phenomena from ancient times to the present. A question arises: who sent this message? And why did Penniston choose to receive it? Memory loss, the price of stolen knowledge. Not only Penniston, but many other witnesses also began to experience memory disorders. Some could not remember the exact sequence of events. Some lost all memories from the moment they entered the forest. Others had recurring dreams about lights, strange symbols, and high-pitched sounds that did not belong to humans. These signs made researchers ask, could the object have emitted an energy field that affected the hippocampus, the memory center of the brain? Or worse, as some conspiracy theorists believe, had these soldiers' memories interfered with by some agency? What was the role of the NSA and USAF, the one behind the scenes? In the years since the incident, some UFO researchers such as Nick Pope, a former British Ministry of Defense employee, have begun to reveal the U.S. government was much more involved in the Rendlesham incident, despite the fact that it took place on British soil. Some military witnesses said they were questioned by Americans, not British. Their filming equipment, recordings, and field reports were seized shortly after. Some soldiers were threatened if they revealed anything. Theorists suggest that it is very possible that the U.S. National Security Agency, NSA, and the U.S. Air Force, USAF, coordinated to retrieve information, as the alien object could have been a source of superior technology that needed to be hidden. Time travel hypothesis. Future travel? A controversial but increasingly mentioned hypothesis in the UFO community. The object that Penniston touched was not from extraterrestrial, but from the future. Based on the message planetary advance, some scholars believe this could be an observation or research device sent back in time from a post-human civilization. Penniston was not chosen randomly, but by DNA fingerprinting, as if they knew exactly who would access it. Binary codes are a way of transmitting messages across time. Simple, but easy to survive in the mind of the recipient without being corrupted. If so, then the question is no longer, where did the aliens come from? But, have we become the aliens we fear? End of chapter. The line between memory and message, between illusion and technology, can blur when you are confronted with something beyond the understanding of the time. Collision with secrets, theories collapse. When the truth is hidden, what remains is a maze of science, spirituality, and power plays. Not UFO, the anti-alien theories. While many believe the Rendlesham incident was a UFO encounter, there are also skeptics and mainstream researchers who try to explain the phenomenon using scientific logic. Small blue diamond, the Orford Ness lighthouse hypothesis. This is the most frequently mentioned theory in the rebuttals. The Orford Ness lighthouse is located not far from Rendlesham Forest. Some investigators have suggested that the flashing lights seen by the soldiers may have been the rotating searchlights from the lighthouse. Reflections of light through thick fog can cause visual hallucinations. However, many witnesses strongly objected to this hypothesis. They said the light moved between the trees, descending to the ground. There were signs of an object landing and leaving burn marks, footprints, and dents in the ground. And especially, it cannot be due to light affecting time and memory. Small blue diamond drone hypothesis. Some believe that this could be an experimental drone of the US or British military. But in 1980, UAV technology was still very primitive. There was no drone that could emit a bright white light, hover silently, make no sound, and especially emit an energy field that would stop a watch. Time and alien technology hypothesis. After the binary data was decoded, some researchers such as Linda Moulton Howe and Richard Dolan theorized that we are not dealing with an alien event. We are dealing with a timeless event. Notable points. The coordinates in a message are all related to ancient energy nodes, ley lines. Messages such as exploration of humanity continues may indicate a long-term project to monitor humanity. The object does not just move physically. It moves through space-time, breaking the laws that ordinary matter cannot. Some people began to ask, Had they always been here, observing us for millennia? Not from another planet, but from another plane of reality? The connection to ancient phenomena. One point that has caused a stir. The island of Hy-Brasil, one of the coordinates encoded in the binary message, called Irish Atlantis. It appeared on ancient maps from the 14th to the 19th centuries, then suddenly disappeared. Legends describe this place as inhabited by luminous creatures, superior in intelligence, capable of hiding from humans. From there, people began to think, perhaps Rendlesham is not the first time they appeared, but it is a continuation of a chain of broken communications throughout human history, from the pyramids to Stonehenge, from Nazca to Rendlesham Forest. What is the role of the U.S. military in Project Redacted? In the early 1990s, a number of leaked documents from former intelligence officers revealed the existence of a secret project, codenamed Project Redacted, which was supposed to study and recover unidentified flying devices. In it, there was a note related to unscheduled contact event, Woodbridge, UK, 1980. Assets deployed, surveillance active, biological interface confirmed. Rough translation. Unscheduled contact event, Woodbridge, UK, 1980. Personnel deployed, surveillance active, biological interface confirmed. The phrase biological interface shocked the research community. Could this be a way to describe the phenomenon of Peniston receiving coded messages directly into his brain? Memory destruction, warning from the silent ones. Many witnesses, after leaving the military, became quiet or changed completely. Some refused to be interviewed, even denying that the event had occurred. Others fell into depression, suffered from long-term memory loss, or had unexplained mental problems. Some even disappeared completely, leaving no trace of contact. This has led many to believe that there was a memory cleansing campaign conducted after the event. What they saw could be so dangerous that it was considered a cognitive hazard. Parallel universes and cross-dimensional theory. A bold hypothesis was put forward by theoretical physicist Jacques Vallée. We should not see UFOs as spaceships, but as passages between different levels of reality. From this perspective, the object in the forest did not come from somewhere, but emerged from another level of space, existing parallel to our world. It appears briefly, distorts time, and then disappears, like a crossroads between two universes. This partly explains why cameras, radars, and electronic devices are all disabled when UFOs appear. Why people lose their memories or experience hallucinations. Because the brain is not designed to process that level of reality. Rendlesham, an open gate that has never closed? Rendlesham is not just a 1980 incident. To this day, people still report seeing strange lights in the woods at night, hearing metallic sounds and unusual humming, feeling an invisible pressure when walking deeper into the woods. Some believe this location is a thin spot between worlds, an open gate that is never fully closed. End of chapter. When theories collide, the truth may not lie in the middle, but on a level of reality we never thought possible. The most talkable, confessions and leaked documents. When silence becomes more dangerous than words, there will be those who risk their lives to break the chain of control. Jim Peniston and the Forgotten Notebook. In 1980, Sergeant Jim Peniston was the first person to approach the strange object in Rendlesham Forest. But it took him nearly 3 decades to publish the notebook containing the binary symbols. So what kept him silent for so long? I was warned that if I revealed it, I would lose my pension, be sent for a psychiatric examination, and even face a court-martial. The notebook records. The binary code was unconsciously rewritten by him in the hours after the contact, consisting of hundreds of ones and zeros, which were later translated into coordinates, messages, and cryptic phrases such as exploration of humanity, origin year 8100, eyes of your eyes. The notebook became the focus of debate. Was it some kind of data download from non-human intelligence? The return of Charles Halt, unpublished recordings. Deputy Commander Charles Halt, who had previously denied the event, abruptly changed his stance in 2010. He declared, "Not only do I believe the Rendlesham incident was real, I think the government has been trying to cover it up for 30 years." Halt provided an unpublished recording made on the night of the event. It recorded soldiers on radio, confused by the fast-moving lights in the sky, describes a glowing triangular object that appears and disappears as if dissolving into thin air. A soldier whispers, "It's watching us. I can feel it." The tape has been repeatedly analyzed with no evidence of tampering and has become the first audio evidence to support a witness's testimony. Leaked MI5 document. In 2015, a group of transparency activists published a secret document allegedly leaked from MI5 titled UAP Incident, Woodbridge Region, January 1981 report. Some highlights. MI5 acknowledges the presence of anomalous aerial phenomena. Notes that U.S. personnel reported low-level biological exposure. Recommends investigation into the long-term psychological effects on the group of witnesses. The final line of the document is in bold. Recommend continued containment. Public knowledge to be minimized. No one has confirmed the authenticity of the document, but the style and format are similar to previously declassified MI5 documents. Many believe it is evidence of interference from very high up. Voices in the dark, anonymous witness. In a special interview in 2018, a person claiming to be a former member of the RAF, Royal Air Force, security team shared anonymously. "We were ordered to shut up. Anyone who did not comply, your career was gone." He recounted witnessing a spherical object of white light, which circled the radar station for several minutes. Then it was covered in a black mist, and there was no trace. Notable, one of his team members suffered from prolonged amnesia, confusing time and space for weeks afterward. The story fits the time distortion phenomena that Jim Peniston has talked about. Unveiling Project Condign, the secret project of the British Ministry of Defense. Although the incident occurred in 1980, it was not until 2006 that the British Ministry of Defense announced a top-secret project, Project Condign. The goal, to analyze more than 10,000 UFO reports over 30 years. In an excerpt from the report, some UAPs can cause temporary biological effects on observers, including disorientation, cognitive distortions, and orientation hallucinations. This has led researchers to ask, is Rendlesham one of the main case studies of Project Condign? Those involved were affected by a strange form of energy that had never been seen before. Extraverbal communication, a spiritual connection? In 2021, consciousness researcher Dr. Diana Pasulka, University of North Carolina, published a study on the link between UFOs and spirituality. In a separate chapter on Rendlesham, she writes, "Some witnesses describe receiving nonverbal messages, akin to thought transmission. This may be a form of communication beyond language, similar to ancient mystical phenomena." The surprising similarity. Peniston's descriptions resemble spiritual transmission in shamanic rituals. The feeling of being seen inside the soul also appears in near-death experiences and EEs. Are we dealing with an extraterrestrial intelligence? Or is it a higher form of consciousness, coming from a level of reality that humans have not yet perceived? Rendlesham, a lever for a cognitive revolution? From a phenomenon considered a collective hallucination, the Rendlesham incident is gradually being considered more seriously by the scientific and military community. Some young scientists are proposing reopening the official investigation from an interdisciplinary perspective, combining quantum physics, psychology, and space archaeology. Create a time consciousness simulation model based on the Rendlesham data. Incorporate this event into the UAP phenomenon research curriculum in defense academies. As documents are gradually declassified, witnesses come forward, and the public begins to ask questions, the curtain is gradually lifted. End of chapter. No one can hide the truth forever. It will not disappear. Only until humanity is mature enough to look in the mirror and face what lies behind the light. Ancient traces, entities from the past, Perhaps we are not the first to encounter them. Perhaps long ago they were present, but we did not recognize them or deliberately forgot them. Mysterious Roman records in Britain. It was not until the 20th century that people witnessed strange objects appearing in the sky. Going back nearly 2,000 years, when the Romans set foot on the island of Britain, there were strange documents recorded. A manuscript from the 2nd century, written by the Roman historian Dio Cassius, describes, "There was a round light shining like a bronze shield hovering over the forests of Britannia, shining for many nights in succession and scaring away the war horses." The description of the shield light has many UFO researchers thinking of the disc-shaped UFOs reported from the mid-20th century onwards. The question is the Rendlesham entity part of a series of phenomena that have existed since ancient times? The connection to prehistoric inscriptions in Britain. In ancient sites around Suffolk, near Rendlesham, archaeologists have found many strange stone carvings. Concentric circles, carved into sandstone more than 4,000 years ago. Grid-like symbols, similar to the binary symbols recorded by Jim Peniston. In particular, a stone near Sutton Hoo, not far from Rendlesham Forest, bears an engraving similar to the luminous triangle described in the 1980 incident. Could it be that prehistoric people here also witnessed some presence and recorded it in an ancient symbolic language? Folklore, the legend of the Watchers. In old Suffolk folklore, there is a story passed down from generation to generation. Creatures without eyes, without speech, but still make you understand. They are the Watchers, guardians of the sacred sky. The Watchers, or Watchers, have been described as appearing on cold winter nights under the blue moon, not walking on feet, but sliding lightly on the ground, knowing everything about the person in front of them, as if reading their memories. Some scholars believe that this is a metaphor for ancient aliens, when humans did not have the vocabulary to describe things beyond their understanding. This coincides strangely with the feeling of being swept of the mind that Peniston and other soldiers described after contact with the object at Rendlesham. Surprising similarities with Sumerian civilization. If we expand our search in time and space, we will see that Rendlesham is not an isolated case. In ancient Mesopotamia, the Sumerian civilization, the first civilization of mankind, had texts written on clay tablets that said, "The gods from the sky, with chariots of fire, came and taught the people how to memorize, build, and observe the sky." In the ancient Sumerian clay tablets, scholars have discovered a drawing resembling a triangle with light radiating from the vertices, similar to the object in the Rendlesham incident. Description of sounds without words, heard by the mind rather than through the ears, like communication through brain waves. The phrase, "They came from the immeasurable years to study mankind and the cycle of life." Assuming the Sumerian civilization and the Rendlesham incident refer to the same species. Were they time travelers? Or were they creatures living outside linear time? Ancient energy corridors in Rendlesham. Just a coincidence? Many metaphysical researchers point out that Rendlesham Forest lies near a strong ley line, a geomagnetic energy path that runs through ancient sacred sites on Earth. Some notable sites that share the same energy path as Rendlesham. Stonehenge, an ancient monument with astronomical purposes. Glastonbury Tor, a place believed to be a gateway to the other world. Avery Henge, Europe's largest stone circle. Theorists theorize that aliens may use energy points to appear, hide, or communicate. It is possible that the Rendlesham object is not from space, but from another dimension, and that the ley points are gateways to the realm of reality. DNA and a warning from the past. A controversial theory put forward by Dr. Stephen Greer, Disclosure Project, suggests that events like Rendlesham are not simply prose. They're surveillance of human biological evolution. Jim Peniston has claimed that he felt his body out of rhythm after the contact event, as if something in him had changed. Which raises the question, are aliens monitoring the evolutionary cycle of human DNA? Or worse, have we been genetically modified long ago, and Rendlesham is a retest? Are they the entities that planted the first intelligent species on Earth and are now back, monitoring the results? From myth to reality, gods, humans, aliens? Looking back at ancient civilizations from Egypt, Sumer, India to the Maya, we see a pattern of repetition. The gods came from the sky. They possess strange technology, flight, manipulation of matter and consciousness, often leaving messages that they will return. Rendlesham, with all its strangeness, time-traveling technology, mind interfacing, mind interference, and government silence, may be the first modern answer to the ancient prophecy. One day, they will return to see if we are worthy. Chapter end. History is not a linear flow, but a spiral. And when the circle closes, we will realize that it has all happened before, just with different names and faces. Simulation theory and quantum consciousness. Insights into the Rendlesham event. If we are part of a space game, are we aware that we are being observed and controlled? And if events like Rendlesham are just experimental parts of a macroscopic game, can we understand the nature of them? Simulation theory. A human-alien interactive game? When mentioning the Rendlesham event, many people cannot help but ask, are these strange objects part of an experiment, a game that we do not understand? One of the more bizarre and interesting theories put forward is the simulation theory, the hypothesis that the entire universe, including Earth and ourselves, may be a simulation, an imitation created by another civilization. Simulation systems. The Rendlesham incident can be explained in the context of a space simulation system, where alien processes and entities may be checkpoints or failures in the simulation. According to this theory, the aliens are not intruders from outer space, but rather the administrators of a giant game, observing and controlling our environment. Simulation theory, popularized by the work of Nick Bostrom, suggests that if we live in a simulation, then perhaps strange events, such as UFOs, the Rendlesham phenomenon, are anomalies in the game, where administrators interfere with the simulation's timelines. The big question: could the strange objects that appear at Rendlesham actually be checkpoints or survey tools used to assess the simulation's progress? Observation entities, administrators from another world. It is possible that the beings that Peniston and the other soldiers encountered were not alien invaders, but actually characters involved in the simulation's monitoring and testing. The signs of their presence in a space with extremely sophisticated interference are evidence that they may be entities from another world, a dimension that we do not yet have access to. Quantum consciousness, the human-alien connection. One of the prominent concepts in the study of quantum physics is quantum consciousness, which suggests that consciousness may not be solely a product of brain, but may have a connection with space-time phenomena, perhaps even transcending the physical boundaries of time and space. Consciousness and the quantum universe, according to modern research, may be the key to understanding the Rendlesham incident. It is possible that the unexplained phenomena in this incident were actually related to experiments on consciousness in space, which alien entities were testing or monitoring. Brain waves and the superconscious connection. Jim Peniston and other soldiers have described the feeling of having their minds scanned and receiving messages through intuitive feelings rather than explicit words. This could be a sign of a quantum consciousness connection, where information is transmitted through brain waves, bypassing conventional physical barriers. There is a famous experiment in the field of consciousness science called the holographic universe experiment, in which researchers demonstrated that consciousness can connect to other dimensions. The Rendlesham incident may indicate that extraterrestrial entities can directly manipulate human consciousness, altering perception and creating a deep connection between them and us. The Rendlesham connection to past experiments. The Philadelphia experiment, resonance simulation. One of the experiments involving space simulation is known as the Philadelphia experiment, in which U.S. military scientists in the 1940s attempted to turn a warship into an invisible image using a special type of electromagnetic wave. Although officially denied, stories and accounts from participants still confirm that the USS Eldridge was briefly transported through space and time. The parallels between the Philadelphia experiment and the Rendlesham incident are hard to ignore. Both involve time-space manipulation, experimentation, and attempts to travel through other dimensions. Were the aliens the soldiers encountered at Rendlesham testing similar technologies, or even trying to use some kind of quantum technology to alter human consciousness? Mysterious technologies and the experiment of the century. One of the strangest things the Rendlesham soldiers described was the feeling that the objects they encountered were not from somewhere far away, but were capable of traveling through different dimensions. Perhaps we were being experimented on, and the strange objects of the Rendlesham event were part of a centuries-old experiment, not only involving space technology, but also the ability to control and connect with the space consciousness. The final question, are we really pawns in a big game? With all the information and theories above, the big question is the Rendlesham event just part of a game, where we are pawns in a cosmic chess game that we cannot fully understand? Perhaps the scariest thing about this whole story is not the appearance of UFOs, but the realization that there is a force that can control or monitor us and none of us can do anything about it. Certainly, Rendlesham is not the end of the story. Maybe it's just the beginning, a message from beings in space or time to let us know that they are still watching and controlling us from behind the cosmic screen. Government cover UPS, the silent science. The less we know about an event, the easier it is to manipulate it. And in the case of Rendlesham, perhaps silence is the answer. Government and UFO cover-ups. When it comes to the Rendlesham incident, it is impossible not to mention the government cover-up. For decades, documents related to the UFO phenomenon have been classified as secret, and the government's failure to acknowledge the existence of unidentified flying objects has been part of the strategy of secrecy surrounding events like Rendlesham. Silent bans. One of the most remarkable aspects of the Rendlesham case is the silence from the British and American governments. Witnesses, including Jim Penniston and John Burroughs, all claimed that they were told not to talk about the event or face serious consequences. After the event in 1980, the British Ministry of Defense and the Pentagon consistently refused to acknowledge any extraterrestrial intervention, despite clear evidence of strange objects and strange effects experienced by soldiers in the forest. The question is, why was the event so thoroughly covered up, especially when the witnesses were serving soldiers? Was this silence a sign of a larger strategy? Or could the cover-up itself be a result of the government not wanting to shed light on a truth it could not control? Secret documents and destruction mechanisms. It was not until the 2000s that secret documents related to the Rendlesham incident began to be declassified. However, even after these documents were released, much of the information remained unclear and there were hidden details in the records. Incomplete records. The documents that have been released show that the reports on the Rendlesham incident are missing or incomplete, with many sections marked secret or systematically deleted. It appears that the government implemented a strategy of erasing information related to the event, with even documents that were not American or British being heavily censored. One of the odd things researchers have noticed is the long absence of official records, despite witnesses claiming that there was a military investigation after the event. The question is, were these reports altered to hide something? Unsolved mysteries in the files. Some of the files that have been released include unclear text or are written in mysterious codes, which could be signs that the government is trying to hide an important message. Is there a layer of secrecy in these documents, containing important information that could change our understanding of the Rendlesham incident? Economic and political reasons behind the cover-up. Threats to power and national security. One of the main reasons why the government may have decided to hide the truth about Rendlesham may be due to concerns about political power and national security. In a world where nations compete with each other in military technology and the ability to develop advanced weapons, any event involving extraterrestrial objects could have global political implications. The emergence of advanced space technology, believed to be from extraterrestrial beings, could lead to a dramatic shift in the global balance of power. If this information were to be revealed, it could threaten the stability of nations and change the way nations enter into international military treaties. Secret truths extraterrestrial intervention. The Secret Alliance Theory. One theory that cannot be ignored is the Secret Alliance, where major nations may have signed secret treaties with extraterrestrial beings. In fact, some researchers have suggested that encounters like Rendlesham may be part of agreements between governments and extraterrestrial beings, in which nations are given access to alien technology while keeping the truth hidden from the public. According to this theory, UFO events like Rendlesham may be part of long-standing communications and cooperation, with nations trying to control technology and prevent information from reaching the public. Alien entities and the invisible relationship. Some of the covered-up documents reveal a strange relationship between extraterrestrial entities and government agencies, in which these beings can interfere in political and military decisions, even influencing national leaders. If events like Rendlesham do indeed reflect a cooperative relationship between governments and aliens, then the cover-up may simply be the result of a close connection that we cannot fully understand. Yes, unanswered questions. Perhaps the most important question of all is, why does the government continue to hide this truth? Is there a global threat from UFOs and extraterrestrials that we are not yet ready to face? Or is it simply that this cover-up is a strategy to protect a world we do not yet fully understand? We may never know the answer, but with each step we take in unlocking the hidden files, we get closer to discovering the truth about the Rendlesham incident and the top secrets that the government is still trying to keep hidden. The lasting impact of the Rendlesham event. Inspirations and unexplained mysteries. An event, even if it lasts only a moment, can leave an everlasting mark on the human mind. Rendlesham did just that, not only on the minds of those who witnessed it, but also on culture and science. Inspiration for UFO studies and extraterrestrial theories. The momentum for UFO studies. The Rendlesham incident is not only a mystery to those who witnessed it, but also a milestone in the field of UFO studies. Although there is no official explanation for what actually happened in Rendlesham Forest, the event ignited a passion for studying UFOs and the existence of extraterrestrial beings. Rendlesham helped raise awareness of the possibility of extraterrestrial life forms and created a new movement in UFO research. Researchers and ufologists began to incorporate the event into their studies, looking for connections between the Rendlesham event and other extraterrestrial phenomena occurring around the world. As such, Rendlesham has become a symbol for those who believe in the existence of UFOs and one of the most important pieces of evidence for the theory of contact between humans and extraterrestrial beings. Impact on science. In addition to inspiring UFO research, the Rendlesham event also opened up a wide discussion in the scientific community about forms of contact with extraterrestrial beings and technologies that we do not yet understand. Many scientists have begun to take an interest in the unexplained phenomena that witnesses at Rendlesham have encountered, from strange flashes of light to strange effects on electronic devices. Discussions of physical theories, such as metamatter and parallel universes, have also expanded as experts try to find explanations for these phenomena. It is possible that the Rendlesham incident was not just a space event, but part of a whole new scientific concept that has opened up humanity's eyes to what might exist beyond this universe. Cultural breakthrough. Rendlesham in art and media. Rendlesham in popular culture. The Rendlesham incident is not just a chapter in UFO history, but a cultural icon. It has been an inspiration for countless films, television shows, books, and even video games. Fictional material, science fiction novels, and documentaries have emerged to explore and imagine what might have really happened in the Rendlesham Forest. By depicting the Rendlesham incident, these works of art not only entertain, but also stimulate curiosity about unexplained mysteries. For a new generation, Rendlesham has become a symbol of exploration and a favorite subject in the UFO and cosmology communities. Developments in contemporary culture. One of the major impacts of the Rendlesham incident is that it challenged people's beliefs in the concepts of reality and fantasy. Documentaries about the event have sparked debate about what could actually happen when humans encounter extraterrestrial beings. Contemporary culture has embraced uncertainty and has made Rendlesham a symbol of limitless exploration. From plays to television to conferences, the event remains an endless source of inspiration. Unanswered questions. Will we ever know the truth? The final chapter of the mystery. The final question remains open and unanswered. Will we ever know the truth about what happened at Rendlesham? Although the event is long gone, stories, evidence, and theories continue to develop, and each new piece of information raises doubts and hopes. Unanswered questions. Was it a real contact? Did aliens really visit Earth? Was this event part of a secret military experiment? Can we find answers as we delve deeper into Rendlesham and similar phenomena? These questions will continue to haunt us, not only about Rendlesham, but also about the vast universe we have yet to explore. Conclusion: an eternal mystery. The Rendlesham incident is one of the greatest mysteries in the history of UFO sightings. Despite the overwhelming evidence, eyewitness accounts, and theories, the truth of what actually happened that night remains a mystery. Rendlesham will continue to be a subject of controversy, as believers in UFOs and extraterrestrial life will seek new evidence, and skeptics will continue to demand more plausible explanations. In any case, Rendlesham has left a lasting mark on history, science, and culture, not only as a mysterious event, but also as an eternal symbol of humanity's unfinished discoveries about the universe and extraterrestrial beings.